Okay, we're about to dive into a story that is, well, it's pretty mind-bending. It brings together non-speaking autism, a family's incredible journey, and a claim so wild it might just make you question everything. This is the story of a hidden world, and it all centers on one young man, John Paul.
Just let that sink in for a second. A mother whose son has never spoken a single word says this. My son said to me, "I can hear thoughts." I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? But for this family, this wasn't fiction. It was the beginning of a whole new reality.
So, Section 1, a terrifying escape. And before we even get to the whole telepathy thing, the story kicks off in a much, much scarier place. We're on a family vacation at Hilton Head, and it turns into a total nightmare.
Can you just imagine being woken up at 4:30 in the morning to hear those words? That's what happened to Libby, John Paul's mom. She finds out her 16-year-old son, who is autistic and doesn't speak, is just gone, vanished from their rental home in the middle of the night.
And from there, the situation just spirals into absolute panic. Libby finds his tricycle parked so neatly by the beach, but then she sees it. This horrifying trail of footprints leading right into the dark ocean. Her husband, Peter, who's incredibly sick with stage 4 cancer, is running down the beach, just desperate. Before long, you've got the Coast Guard, the fire department, the police, the whole shebang. The relief when he's finally found safe is just huge. But that terror, that sticks around.
And now, Section 2, a calculated plan. This is where the story just completely flips on its head. Because what looked to his family like this terrifying impulsive escape, well, from John Paul's point of view, it wasn't an accident at all.
This is the million-dollar question, right? For so long, the world has just assumed that if someone can't speak, they don't have these rich, complex thoughts. But when his therapist asked him what happened, with him using a letterboard to spell out the answers, his response was something no one saw coming. And there it is, just a shocking disconnect. While his family was going through absolute terror, John Paul was feeling pure joy. This wasn't some panicked episode. This was a planned adventure, to feel free, to get a taste of the same autonomy his twin brother had, and to stop feeling like such a burden. This whole thing brings us to a really crucial idea in the autism community: presume competence. John Paul's planned swim is maybe the most powerful example of why this matters so much. It forces you to just throw out all your assumptions about people who don't communicate the way we do. All right, Section 3, reading minds, proving it. So this event kind of cracked open a door for the family. They started to think, wait a minute, maybe his connection to us is more than just intuition. And they started to look for some real proof. Looking back, Libby had always felt something was different. When he was just a toddler, he'd suddenly start crying for no reason, right when she was feeling anxious inside. Later on, he'd find candy she'd hidden, like her thoughts were a treasure map. But it was a friend who finally said, let's test this. So Libby just thought of the number 7, and John Paul, on his letterboard, spelled out SEVEN. 100%. That was his score when his dad and his twin brother put him to the test next. They'd write down words on the piece of paper, words John Paul absolutely could not see, and he spelled every single one perfectly. This wasn't just a hunch anymore. Something was really happening.
Okay, now hold on, because this is where the story goes from unbelievable to scientifically documented. A neuroscientist, Dr. Jeff Tarrant, actually did brain scans on John Paul and a couple of other non-speakers with similar claims. Now, for the others, you could see their brainwaves physically change when they were asked to tune in, a clear shift. But with John Paul, nothing. No change at all. And the conclusion was just staggering. His normal baseline brain state is the telepathic state. He is, for lack of a better term, always on. On to Section 4, love and the hill. See, this incredible ability isn't just something they use for tests. For John Paul, it is a core part of his life, his friendships, his social world, even his love life. I love this. This is a quote from John Paul's girlfriend, Lily, who is also a non-speaking telepathy. From Harry Potter? Muggles are the regular folks who have no idea there's a whole world of magic happening right under their noses. Well, to Lily and John Paul, that's us. We're the voice users. We're the muggles. So if you're not using your voice, where do you hang out? Well, they go to the hill. That's what they call the shared mental space, kind of like a telepathic chat room. It's a place where they can all meet up, share ideas, and just be with their friends, no matter where they are in the world. It is literally a hidden social network. Okay, Section 5, a controversial savant skill. Now, as you can probably imagine, a claim this massive doesn't just go unchallenged. There's a lot of controversy, and not just from skeptics on the outside, but from right inside the autism community, too. There's this very real fear among some parents and advocates that even talking about telepathy could be damaging. I mean, they've fought for so long just to have their kids' intelligence recognized, they worry that this will give skeptics a way to say, see, their thoughts aren't even their own. It's this deep protective instinct, but it ends up silencing the very families who are going through this.
So how in the world do you classify something like this? Well, one researcher, Dr. Diane Powell, she argues we should think of it as just another savant skill, right? We already accept that some people with autism can calculate massive sums in their head or play a piano concerto after hearing it once. So she asks, why is extrasensory perception so different? Why is that the one we can't accept?
The pushback from the establishment is intense. If you want to know how taboo this subject is, just look at Dr. Powell. Her medical license was actually revoked by the board just for publishing a book about her findings. They hadn't even read it yet. Now, it was reinstated later, but that sends a pretty clear and scary message to any other scientist who might want to look into this.
And that brings us to our last section, Section 6, Changing the Perception. So why? Why would John Paul and his family risk all the judgment and disbelief to share this story? What's the end game?
On the day the reporter for this story was doing her interview, she asked John Paul a question. How many people are on the Hill right now? And he spelled out a number. 1,789. That was way, way more than usual. And the obvious next question is, why? Why was there such a huge crowd in this invisible telepathic space on that one specific day?
And this was his answer, spelled out letter by letter. They were there because they knew. They knew this story was being told, and they had all gathered on the Hill to show their support. They were hoping that by sharing this incredible, hidden piece of their reality, it would finally change how the world sees them. Not as broken, but just different. And in some ways, truly extraordinary.
And that's really the thought that leaves you wondering, isn't it? Whether you believe it's possible or not, the stories from these families are powerful. And it makes you ask, if their reality has a whole other layer of communication that most of us can't even perceive, what else might we be completely unaware of? What are we, the muggles, missing out on?